Okay, Vinny, just ringing you to see, get an update on how things are going. The squad were obviously in for the COVID-19 testing at Oriel Park on Monday. How did that go, and what was the procedure like?
Yeah, it went obviously went really well in terms of the procedure of it. Everyone drove in, got tested under the YDC building, and then it was a drive-through test, and then they left. So it was great. It was great to have the players back around. It was the first time they've seen Oriel Park for a lot of them in so long. So I think they were pleasantly surprised by some of the changes we made in terms of we've painted that drive-in area that they go into, so the place looks fresher again, and they had to just sign in. So they've seen some of the new procedures we've put in place around the COVID-19 and around sort of the procedures that they'll have to come back into when they're ready to train. So I think my understanding is it filled them with a huge amount of confidence that the club has put all the right procedures in place for when they're ready to come back.
The test itself, what's it like? Because I'm sure a lot of people will never want to undergo a COVID-19 test, but you've had that experience. What is it like?
Yeah, it's effectively a swab of throat. It's quite uncomfortable, but it's nothing more than it lasts maybe 15 to 25 seconds and it's over. So it's nothing too major. And you know, obviously it's something that has to be done, and it would be great if the whole community could be tested. But as it stands, we're part of a pilot scheme, and we're very thankful for I suppose the FAI and the government backing on this to help sport get back. Return as quickly as possible in the country.
When do you expect to get the results?
I think it'd be like Wednesday / Thursday morning, that type of time. So it's 2 days turnaround, that type of time, 48 hours. So.
And what's the plan then for the FAI? You said to be further testing ahead of the return to training on June the 8th. So when do you expect to be tested again?
We tested again next Monday ahead of June the 8th, and then everything is it will develop. And to be fair to the people in the FAI, the medical department, they've been, working hard on this. So we'll just follow their process on it, and whenever they tell us to be tested, we'll be ready and available. So it will be an ongoing test though over the next month on a weekly basis, almost definitely. So we're prepared for it.
Yeah. June the 8th, obviously the date that's been set for a return to training. You obviously were hoping to get back this week, but it's been pushed back by the FAI. Can you just tell us what changes have been made to Oriel? Obviously, the club have appointed a COVID officer, and you mentioned changes in the YDC where the players will be based. What sort of changes have gone on?
Well, I suppose from the COVID point of view, like we've put a one-way system into the YDC, so there's only one way in, one way out. Hand sanitized stations almost everywhere. We've shut down the likes of our canteen for the players. That was shut down, and our video rooms are shut down, so no meetings can take place indoors. And I suppose then the staff and particularly the staff around the club, before the original lockdown came in, we did a 2 or 3 week window where we're able to sort of give a dig out to the ground staff. A lot of the staff were there painting, sweeping, keeping the place tidy, and there's a fresh lick of paint around the place, and full credit must go to the ground staff. And we've been there, some of the staff have been there to give them a hand at different stages. So the place looks a lot fresher than it did. And that's sort of the training centre in Dundalk is something that we're very proud of, and I think it puts us in a really strong position in terms of the rest of this country, in terms of the investment the club has put into it, and it means we can do things the right way, and it fills our players with confidence ahead of return on June the 8th.
Yeah. What's your plans then for when the players do come back? Is it's small groups, so will players be sort of scheduled for different times each day?
Yeah, well, the plan is for groups of 5 to return. That's the plan through the FAI. So again, we've been working on that. Our players are training regularly, 5 and 6 days a week. The one thing is the modern day player really looks after himself. So when we seen them yesterday, there was a few dodgy haircuts, but there was certainly no there was no pop bellies or anything like that. So you've got a different mindset of the modern day athletes, and that was my concern, and that's why we've done so much work ahead of what we felt, according to the only guidelines we were working off, which the HSC. We were ready for the 18th of May, and these are highly tuned athletes, and people forget that sometimes. It's not just a game. So we felt it's important we get them back as soon as we can, but we're comfortable now. We work towards the 8th of June and we follow that road to return to play, and so the players are ready and they're in good spirits.
What about this top 4 or 14 tournament, Vinny? It's been mentioned in the FAI sort of press release. Has there been any more indication of when it'll be played, where it will be played, or is it just an idea at the minute?
I think it's more than an idea. I think it's around the plan for, not just, to be fair to these people, it's not just about soccer returning, it's about sport returning in the country. So where it's to be played, all that stuff is being worked on, and it's very live at the moment in terms of whether it's 1, 2, 3. People are speculating in many matches. We don't have a firm fixture date on it, firm who we're going to play, where we're going to play, all that stuff. But it's a work in progress, and I think all the clubs will work together and get the best out of it. For me, I just hope it's as many matches as possible ahead of what we still have to work towards, the dates around Europe. So it would be great if it was home and away, but we're not going to get that. So as many matches as possible, hopefully, and but that will sort itself out over the next sort of week to 10 days, and hopefully testing for the 4 clubs and I suppose the society in general, this virus continues to be suppressed, and we can mirror that in football, well then it'll get a lot easier to return to play.
I think a lot of people were sort of given encouragement by the talk of a 14 tournament that there could be a return. As it stands, we're the only league in Europe that hasn't set a date for a return. Are you hopeful the League of Ireland will come back this year? I know you've made your point that the damage, if it doesn't come back, could set us back. But as we stand at this moment of time, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, we're the only team of summer football that have a return to date set out. So that is concerning, and it's probably indicative of where we are as a league. And we must remember in Dundalk that it wasn't that long ago we were similar to other clubs who would have really struggled at this time. So we certainly stand by our other clubs, and we'll help everyone to achieve whatever they need to get back to play if we can help. So we certainly don't sit there in an ivory tower in any way, shape or form. But I think it's important we get back on the pitch once it's safe to do so, and as quickly as possible for the league, for the players. And you can't just lose 12 months of your career. It's just can't happen. So as soon as possible, when it's safe to do so, we've got to get back. We also have to accept in Irish football that we won't be playing in front of big crowds anytime soon, or even small crowds. So we have to accept there has to be a new way of clubs to do business. You have to think outside the box. You have to be clever, and you have to take some brave decisions. And we're going to have to do that ourselves. So we're not immune to it. Sponsors have to be, contracts have to be honoured. Season tickets have to be respected, and there's a lot of that stuff where clubs are going to need the football society or football community to help them, and we're no different to that. I just think it's better we're back playing football, and it's the sooner we do that, the better for the good of the Irish game. And I think League of Ireland has proved so valuable to the association that it can't be forgotten. And again, I have to say it's forgotten about sometimes, and I give full credit to the GAA for being at the top table of government all of the time, but we're the most participated sport in the country, and sometimes we're forgotten about it. That's something we need people to take note of, what football does for society and community. So many people are kept fit by even the simple things like 5-a-side tournaments and midweeks and that type of stuff. So we need to get back, but also we have to be conscious that as soon as it's safe to do so, we get back to play.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously games without supporters. What have you made of the Bundesliga? Obviously, it's a complete different sort of level that they're operating on. But what have you made of the games without fans on the ground?
Yeah, I've been happy enough with it. For me, for me, I look at things differently than the normal fan. So I have watched some other games. I've watched some European game. I've watched teams where we could or couldn't play in opposition. They're playing in front of little or no fans as well. So I think that's the obsession with people in Ireland is what's happening in the UK, what's happening in Germany, and we're not equatable to that. And in the sense of there's so much football taking place at the moment that people don't realise that there's football happening all over Europe at the moment. Not all over, but a certain point. So look, fans, the more fans in grounds, the better. But also, it's a great leveler. Some of the games in Germany, I watched one during the weekend or last weekend, and it was pretty average. And it made the point that if there's 20,000 in it, the game looks a lot better, and it's something we can learn from in this country. Our game is, a lot of our games are high quality. Problem is we don't have enough fans in, so it doesn't have that same jazz around it. And I think certain parts of the Bundesliga are struggling from that as well.
Just finally, before you go, you're in Dundalk on Sunday to take part in Muirhevnamor's Run 24. A lot of the current squad and former Dundalk players are involved. It's another example of there's been great sort of community spirit shown around Dundalk since this whole pandemic began.
Yeah, I think I made a mistake on Sunday. I forgot about the run, and jumped on a bike, and I done a 40-kilometer cycle. So I crawled off the bike and then remembered I have to do the run up in Muirhevnamor. But look, I think Dundalk reminds me, and especially somewhere like Muirhevnamor, reminds me of somewhere where I grew up in the 80s. And I think what you see in times like this, where the community need each other, the real people come out and they support each other. And I think what Muirhevnamor have done, the money they've raised, and for the charity looking after old people, I think I'm very proud to do what I can for Dundalk as a community. I don't live there full time. I'm there more than I am at home, but I don't live there full time. I think the community has stuck together so much over this last couple of months. So many little things that have gone on in our own club, but also other clubs, other smaller clubs like Blackrock done something similar. Muirhevnamor have done something, the local GAA clubs. And I think, again, it goes back to the point that sport in the community is brilliant. And it's that gel that can stick us all together. So very proud that we were able to play our part in it. And I think all these clubs, we all need to work together to make Dundalk better and a better sport and sort of organisation. And now it's time for sport to give something back. And you're starting to see that people have been very good with the time. And, I know Tiernan was heavily involved, and Tiernan deserves huge credit and so many more people in Muirhevnamor. So very proud to represent Dundalk there on Sunday.
Brilliant. Vinny, thanks for giving us your time, and hopefully we see you soon.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you soon.